I haven't enjoyed the Genesys anywhere near as much as I thought I would. In a very short form opinion, it basically just feels like modern Yu-Gi-Oh, but with a different card pool and extra steps. I was hoping the power level would land somewhere like in hat format. Naturally, this is, got a lot of attention and, shall we say, divisive comments in the replies here on Twitter, because, Twitter, why would you get anything close to reasonable on Twitter? But, yeah, so this is my personal thoughts on Genesys. I have watched a lot of Genesys. I've hosted the biggest online tournaments of Genesys. I have casted probably 100 games of Genesys. So I'm very familiar with what the format looks like. At a rogue level, at the top level. So I'm pretty in tune with the format. Now, the thing is, basically, without spending forever talking about like the ins and outs, the intricacies of Genesys, it's just modern Yu-Gi-Oh! I can't make it really any simpler. Like, yes, Link monsters are such an integral part of the modern Yu-Gi-Oh! Game. And the Yu-Gi-Oh's modern landscape, but there's a lot of modern Yu-Gi-Oh decks that don't need Link monsters. And so Genesys format has felt like a format that was supposed to be an alternative way to play Yu-Gi-Oh, and really all it's kind of done is just been modern too. Yeah, I think naturally it is low power comparatively to the modern TCG, obviously because no Link monsters. But you're still dealing with kind of the same sort of core problems that advanced modern Yu-Gi-Oh! Has, which is turn lengths, very powerful end boards. That's kind of like the problem. And it's crazy because even if you were to look at like 0-point decks, literal 0-point decks in Genesys, there's some really good decks. So it's not even just like the point system. It really just feels like the card pool is... you play with modern cards, you're going to get modern gameplay. It's just really what it is. I know that sounds extremely obvious. But in my opinion, it just felt like if there was going to be like this point system that could drastically power curve some decks, then we would maybe land somewhere around about hat format. It's a hard discussion and topic to talk about with a lot of people because, to be honest, I think most of the hat veterans are just not playing Yu-Gi-Oh! Anymore. But for those of you who do recall, what I like to describe as the golden age of Yu-Gi-Oh!, in my opinion, is between 2014 and 2017. This period in time where Yu-Gi-Oh! Decks had combos, they were strong, but people were still playing like significantly more back and forth games, and you didn't lose if you lost a coin flip. In fact, going second was better for one of those 3 years. It was more optimal to go second depending on your deck, in 2014 and 2015. So, it's just, like, unheard of today, right? Like, Tenpai and some builds of Striker in the last, like, 10 years of Yu-Gi-Oh! Is, like, the only go-second decks you can really think of. You know what I mean? So, yeah, the game is just, like, way too quick, way too fast, and I think that I'm just disappointed. I guess in hindsight, it should have been quite obvious. The problem is, like, they very specifically said, yesterday's gameplay today. That is a direct quote from one of their early blog posts. I think it's the one on the point system. It's a literal quote on one of this. Where and when to play... The Great Pot of Greed Debate. The first Genesys Duelist. 100% in one of these. It is the first one. No, it's not the first one. Where was it? There is an exact quote where they say this. Oh, are we just like gaslighting ourselves? I have definitely not made this up. This was 100% something they said. Cost of prevention. There it is. It was in one of their first blog posts, September 24th. Genesys, the more economical approach, its board breakers. Removal after the fact will cost you fewer points with the exception of the Solons, but by themselves risk removal. This is by design as it's a key element of yesterday's gameplay, today's cards. Blah, 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 blah. Genesys doesn't use links. Inputs and outputs of combos are far more closely related. It's easy to make a good choice when to use your reaction you do have because this too is part of yesterday's gameplay, today's cards. I don't get that from Genesys. I don't get that. I don't think that's what's going on. So, yeah, I just feel like it's just modern reskinned, and that's not what I was looking for. And there's so many comments talking about how, like, well, I mean, what did you expect? Like, they literally said this and all that stuff, and it's like, it's okay to have hopes, and it's okay to, like, have an opinion as to where it would be nice for a alternative Yu-Gi-Oh format to land. Genesys just didn't hit it for me, you know? And again, if there's anything to take away from this, there's honestly anything to take away from this specific point that I'm having about Genesys is this. Genesys is having the same exact problems and issues that modern Yu-Gi-Oh has. The ban list, the card design, the game balance is completely centered around product and sales. You cannot have a perfectly balanced, well-curated format if you are designing the cards and the format around selling. Because all the modern decks get to have, you know, way too much leniency when they don't need it. That's how every TCG works. Doesn't really negate the point, but sure. Yeah, that's the biggest problem. If a new deck is released and you just get to play full power Radiant Typhoon, is it yesterday's cards, today's gameplay? Yesterday's gameplay, today's cards? No, it's not. So, yeah. That's why I don't think Genesys ended up actually being for me.